Good afternoon, South Holland. Welcome to Lunch with the Librarian from the Librarian's house again. This week we are probably doing more like cooking than we have in a while, but I think that you are going to be pleasantly surprised and completely capable of making chili from scratch today. I think a lot of people imagine chili to have a million ingredients and take a million years to simmer. And you can do that, of course. Like my husband's favorite chili recipe has like 24 ingredients and it takes a couple of hours to make, and it's great, but sometimes you want something a little bit different and a little bit faster. The recipe that I'm going to share with you guys today has 5 ingredients. These are the ingredients: beef broth, jarred salsa, canned beans, chili powder, and ground beef. I have already washed my hands. Sorry about the wobble. New kind of taping situation here. Again, I can't remember what I was going to say. I am going to set up the camera over by the stovetop and light that. It is... There. Come on. Ooh, good gravy. All right. So, as we have established, Miss Jen's house is super duper old. So I've got to light my stovetop, ooh, Jesus, with a match. I'm going to throw just a little swirl of oil in the bottom of the pan. And then I'm going to brown the ground beef. This is a 1.5 pounds of ground beef that I'm using. If you're a little bit over or a little bit under 1.5 pounds, it's not a big deal. It's the great thing about this recipe is that it is super duper forgiving. And if you're a little bit over or under, it's not that big a deal. I'm using 1.5 pounds of 85% lean ground beef. If you use 80%, if that's what you have, that'll be fine. I wouldn't go under 85 or 80%. Sometimes you can get 73% at Aldi, which is where I did my shopping for today. I wouldn't use the 73% lean because it's a little bit too fatty and your chili will turn out a little bit greasier than you might want it to be. On the other side, you can get 93% or even 96% lean ground beef sometimes. That's too lean. You need fat in your cooking in order to transmute flavor, so you want a little bit of that. So I'm going to pop in my 1.5 pounds of ground beef. And I'm going to break it apart in this pot that you've seen me use a bunch of times. And I'm just cooking it so that it's not pink anymore. Another reason, let me bring you over here so that you can hear me talk. Ooh, good gravy. I'll get better at South Holland, I promise. One of the great things about this recipe is, so today I'm using ground beef because that's what I wanted. That's what I was able to get. If you see ground turkey on sale and you want to use it, go for it. If you want to use ground pork or ground chicken instead of ground beef, that's cool. You might want to switch up a couple of the other ingredients, and I'll show you how, or I'll show you kind of what those are in a second. But whatever ground meat you want to use, if you or somebody in your family is a hunter and you have ground venison and you want to use that for your chili, venison is deer, by the way. Do that. Like, you can use whatever ground meat you can. With venison can be pretty lean. You might want to add fat to it in the form of like chopped up bacon. But you can absolutely do that. While the ground beef is browning, I'm going to give it a stir every once in a while to kind of make sure that all of the sides of the beef are exposed to the bottom, the hot part of the pan. I'm going to drain off 2 cans of beans. These are just regular beans. These are the light red ones. If you have dark red ones at home, or that's what you can buy, then that's fine. They don't taste really that different. If you are going to use, if you're going to use ground chicken or ground turkey, you might choose to use a white bean, like a cannellini bean or a Great Northern bean. Again, it's completely up to you what you've got in your pantry, what you can get your hands on. I'm going to give the beef a stir. And as I do, I'm using the side of my spoon to break up the big chunks of beef. Sorry about that, my phone was ringing. So the next thing I'm going to do is drain off the beans. Beans come in a liquid like that, and sometimes you want to use the liquid. Some chili recipes have you add the beans and the liquid from them into the pot. This one doesn't. So I am dumping them. I've got a colander in the sink, the same kind of thing that you would use for draining pasta. And I am going to drain these 2 cans off. Oh, Tucker. The mail carrier must be here. She loves to, or like UPS. She loves to bark at people in the street. Alright. Good gravy. There's just a couple of beans in there that I want to get out so that I can recycle these cans. And I want to rinse off these beans so that there's no liquid left. None of that liquid that they came in left. And I'm just using my sink nozzle and kind of swirling them around and making sure that they're basically pretty drained. Alright. My ground beef, let me come around and show y'all. Is basically browned. Not all the way, and that's fine. This is a tablespoon of chili powder. Not the chili seasoning mix that you can get in an envelope. That has cumin and salt, a lot of salt usually. We're not using that here. This is just straight up chili powder. This is what my container looks like. And I'm dumping a tablespoon of that into the meat. And kind of stirring it up so that the beef and the chili powder are mixed together well. This is where it gets super easy. Beef is brown, chili powder is incorporated. I've been kind of mashing this up with my fork as I stir it. Into the pot goes the beans that I just drained off. And stir that together. A cup and a half of beef broth, just into the pot. Just like chicken broth that we've used together before, I like to get the reduced sodium kind because I like to be able to control how much salt is in my food. So, and I find especially with beef broth, it can be really salty. So I get the reduced sodium kind. And then a cup and a half of salsa. Just regular in a jar salsa. If you would want to eat it on a chip, then use it in your chili. And what's genius about using salsa is that it does all of the work of chopping tomatoes and onions and garlic and peppers. If you're using a hot salsa, there will probably be jalapeno peppers or habanero or whatever in there. Double check on your salsa. This salsa, as you can see, there you go, as you can see, is 16 ounces. So a cup and a half will be about a jar and a half of salsa if you've got 16 ounces in your jar. Remember, 8 ounces is a cup. So you're looking at 24 ounces, liquid ounces. And I'm just kind of eyeballing a half a jar. If it's a little over, that's cool. If it's a little under, that is also fine. Because cooking can be a little bit approximate. So I'm stirring all of this together. I'm turning my heat down to medium. I'm going to bring this up to a simmer and simmer it for 15 minutes. And I'll come back in 15 minutes and show you what that looks like. All right, so it's been 15 minutes. This is what it looks like when it is simmering. Those little bubbles kind of on the top. It doesn't look angry, but it's definitely bubbly and hot. So because of the salsa I chose, there are not a ton of like big chunks of tomato or anything in here. I'm so sorry. My dog has lost her mind. If I had chosen a chunkier salsa, I would have bigger chunks of stuff in my chili. I didn't, and that's okay. So the last thing I'm going to do with this chili is use a fork, just a regular fork, and smush some of the beans up against the side of the pot. I don't know if you can see. They're really, really soft. Let me grab a pot holder so that I don't burn myself. I'm just taking a fork and smushing the beans. I'm going to do this for about half of the beans. And what that'll do is it'll make the texture of the chili a little bit creamier. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to. But if you like a creamier chili than what I have, you might want to do that with some of your beans. Like I said, this is a super adaptable recipe if you have chicken or turkey as your ground meat and you want to use salsa verde. That would be delicious. And white beans, like a Great Northern or a cannellini bean, that would be super good. You wouldn't have to adjust anything else. You would use chicken stock instead of beef stock if you were using chicken or turkey, obviously. You could use, but everything else, it's just kind of about what you like. If you like ground beef and you want to use that, if you like mild salsa versus hot salsa, if you want to use something with chipotle and make it really kind of smoky and deep flavored from the chipotle, salsa, that works. It's all just what you would like to, like what flavors you like and what you kind of have on hand. I will post the recipe for this in the comments. Otherwise, my goodness, Tucker, the dog wants me. The man is outside. Otherwise, you can spoon this into a bowl, top it with grated cheddar cheese, sour cream, chopped up onions or scallions if you have those. Whatever you like to top your bowl of chili with. If you want to make pasta or rice and serve your pasta or serve your chili over rice, that would be great, or over a baked potato like we made on our first lunch with the librarian together. That would be awesome. It's a little bit soupy for chili dogs. You would want to drain off some of the liquid. The chili my husband makes is it's essentially like meat sauce that you would put on spaghetti. It is not this liquidy at all. It's just straight up meat paste essentially. Chili dog, baked potato, on rice, on pasta. Tucker, hush, I'm almost done. She thinks she's going to get shared with. But on these kind of chilly, blustery days, a quick pot of almost from scratch homemade chili is just the ticket. Enjoy. Let me know how you like it in the comments, and I will see you next week, South Holland. Have a great day.